For a long time, modern people were taught a simple lie in a clean shirt. Your job is who you are. Your title is your worth. Your income is your ranking. Your office badge is your face. If somebody asked what kind of man you were or what kind of woman you were, the approved answer was waiting in your wallet. I am a lawyer. I am a manager. I am a consultant. I am a teacher. I am an analyst. I am a founder. I am whatever my email signature says before lunch. It sounds normal because we have all heard it 1,000 times. It is still a lie. Your job is not your identity. It is your role. It is your function. It is one way you serve, build, earn, endure, provide, teach, fix, or carry burdens. Those things matter. Work matters. Duty matters. Competence matters. Bread does not bake itself. Roofs do not repair themselves. Civilization runs on people doing real work with steady hands. That is all true. The falsehood enters when work stops being something you do and becomes the only thing you are. Once that happens, you become fragile in a very modern way. If the job changes, you feel as if you disappeared. If the company downsizes, you feel personally erased. If a younger man outruns you, you feel humiliated at the level of the soul. If retirement comes, you do not rest, you drift. If illness takes your strength, you do not merely suffer, you lose your name. If AI eats half the white-collar ladder, millions of people do not merely fear smaller paychecks, they fear becoming nobody. That is the real damage done by job as identity thinking. It ties the self to a slot in an economic machine. Then, when the machine rattles, the soul rattles with it. This did not always dominate human life the way it does now. A man might have been known by his household, his town, his church, his kin, his craft, his reputation, his obligations. His work mattered deeply, yet it sat inside a thicker web of meaning. He was not reduced to an occupation. He was a father, a neighbor, a worshiper, a citizen, a patron, a rival, a friend. Modern life shaved much of that texture away and offered employment as a replacement. People moved more, families thinned out, churches weakened, town loyalty frayed, shared civic life became patchy. The corporations stepped into the gap with a badge, a mission statement, and a mildly sinister promise of belonging. Many people accepted the trade because they were lonely and because rent still had to be paid. Fair enough. A paycheck has persuasive powers. Yet a company is not a homeland. Human resources is not a priesthood, though it has tried very hard to acquire the robes. A quarterly review is not a verdict on your essence. A promotion can mean you were useful. It does not mean you were good. A layoff can mean the firm changed direction. It does not mean you were worthless. Firms reward value inside a narrow frame. Souls require a larger frame than that. This confusion begins early. Children are asked what they want to be, and the answer is supposed to be a profession: doctor, soldier, engineer, artist, teacher. Nobody asks what kind of person they hope to become with the same intensity. Nobody leans in with equal seriousness and says, be steadfast, be honorable, be fruitful, be wise, be brave enough to carry what is yours to carry. We train the young to aim at occupation before character. Then we act surprised when adults feel spiritually concussed after losing a job title. A title is easy to display. Character is harder. Character has the poor taste to demand sacrifice. The economy made this worse. As white-collar society expanded, many people found themselves in jobs that offered little visible product and lots of status theater. Meetings about meetings, documents about documents, decks that floated through the world like ornamental paperwork geese. Entire careers came to depend on managerial fog and procedural prestige. In that environment, a title became even more important because the actual work often felt abstract. If you cannot point to the table you built, the roof you repaired, the patient you saved, or the children you taught, then the title starts doing more emotional labor than it should. It becomes a substitute for visible substance. Then something unpleasant happens. The title gets threatened. A merger comes through. A boss changes. A recession hits. A machine learns to do the paperwork. A younger rival takes the role. Suddenly, the person who said, "I am a senior strategic operations lead," discovers that he cannot explain himself without organizational jargon. Strip away the title, and he stares into the mirror like a man whose favorite costume has been stolen. That is not because work is bad, it is because idolatry is bad. And yes, this is a kind of idolatry. Not always in a grand theatrical sense. Usually it is smaller and duller than that. The market is ruthless toward that kind of sentimental mistake. It will gladly pay you, use you, praise you, replace you, then forget you by Thursday. This is why people with brilliant careers can still feel hollow. The latter gave them advancement, and advancement gave them motion, and motion gave them distraction. Then the motion stops. Now what? The inbox quiets, the status slows, the meetings end, the applause thins out. They discover that they built a self around activity, not being, around rank, not worth, around motion, not direction. It is one of the great comedies of modern adulthood that people will spend 20 years climbing toward a title and then spend the next 10 years wondering why they still feel unintroduced to themselves. This hits men especially hard because men are trained to anchor dignity to provision, competence, and public usefulness. Some of that is good and proper. A man should want to be useful. The trouble comes when provision becomes his only proof of existence. Then every career setback feels like emasculation. Every period of weakness feels like moral failure. Every detour feels like shame. Sometimes a man does everything he was told and still gets clubbed by reality like a piano dropped from a third-floor window. If his identity depends entirely on occupational success, he has no shelter when fortune turns. A healthier man understands this. He works hard. He takes pride in competence. He provides where he can. Yet he knows he is not reducible to his wage. He is a son of God, or at the very least, a moral being with duties that outrun payroll. He is a husband, perhaps, a father, perhaps, a brother, a friend, a neighbor, a keeper of promises, a steward of gifts, a man bound to truth, whether or not his boss recognizes it. When the market bruises him, it hurts. It does not erase him. Women face a parallel trap, though it often wears a different expression. Modern women were told for decades that full dignity required professional achievement in public competition. Much of that message contained truth. Intelligence ought not be buried in the backyard like silver during wartime. Yet the culture often slid from "women can work" into "women must derive personhood through career status." It produced many accomplished people and many exhausted souls. A woman can be intelligent, capable, hardworking, fruitful, and serious without treating the office as the chapel of her selfhood. Her identity cannot be safely housed in a role the market may revise next quarter. This is why retirement terrifies so many people. They do not fear rest, they fear exposure. They suspect, often correctly, that they never built a self large enough to live in without a job. The career gave them structure, conversation, urgency, and an answer to the question, "Who are you?" Remove the career, and the room goes quiet. Some retirees flourish, others wither, because they had outsourced their identity to the schedule. The same pattern shows up when parents lose children to the workforce in a different way. Fathers and mothers often discover that they know how to be useful on the job and have forgotten how to be present at home. They can manage teams, budgets, and systems, yet cannot sit quietly with their own family without reaching for a phone like a nervous courtier in search of permission. Why? Because work gave them a script and domestic life demanded a self. Real identity has to survive unemployment, success, failure, marriage, grief, old age, illness, and obscurity. If it cannot survive those things, it was never really identity. It was a costume rented from circumstance. That does not mean you should become lazy or indifferent. The point is not to sneer at achievement. Work is good. Ambition can be good. Mastery is good. Excellence is good. A civilization without disciplined workers becomes a landfill with Wi-Fi. The point is order. Work must sit under identity, not above it. Duty must flow from who you are, not replace who you are. Think of it this way. Your job is one room in the house. It may be an important room. It may even be the room that pays for the roof. Fine. Yet if you start sleeping in that one room, eating in that one room, praying in that one room, raising your children in that one room, then you have shrunk your life into a cubicle with decorative lighting. The better path is to build identity from thicker material. What do you love that is good? Whom are you responsible for? What do you believe about truth? What are your non-negotiable duties? What do you create, protect, repair, teach, preserve, or pass on? What kind of suffering can you endure without becoming contemptible? What kind of beauty can you recognize? That is real identity. It has more backbone than a LinkedIn profile. This is also why communities matter. A sane community knows you in more than one register. It knows your labor, yes, though also your habits, your generosity, your children, your temper, your stories, your loyalties, your burdens. Modern people often lack that. They are known professionally and almost nowhere else. Then they wonder why job disruption feels apocalyptic. Of course it does. If the world only knows you as an employee, then losing the employment can feel like social death. Communities rescue people from that narrowness by letting them exist in several dimensions at once. Art helps here too, strangely enough. So does ritual. So does faith. They remind people that human beings are made for more than utility. A man who sings in church, paints icons, coaches boys, tends a garden, reads poetry, cannot be reduced to a job title without obvious absurdity. He may still work in accounting, fine, yet accounting is plainly not the whole map of the man. It is one province in a larger kingdom. The same goes for a woman who mothers, teaches, counsels, writes, serves, governs a home, builds a business, cultivates beauty, and keeps faith with the people entrusted to her. The market may describe one part of her. It cannot describe the whole. This becomes even more urgent in the age of AI. Old career ladders are wobbling. Roles that once gave people status and coherence are being compressed, automated, or thinned out. That does not mean human beings are becoming irrelevant. It means flimsy identities are being put under pressure. If your only answer to who am I is, I perform this economic function, then technological upheaval will shake you. If your identity is anchored in character, faith, duty, love, you can adapt. You may lose a role and keep your center. That is freedom. And freedom of that kind is rare. Your job can be honorable. Your job can be meaningful. Your job can be difficult, dignified, and worth doing well. It still cannot tell you who you are. A man laid off from a firm can still be courageous. A mother exhausted at home can still be noble. A retired machinist can still be wise. A teacher ignored by the culture can still be great. A laborer no one praises can still be rich in the things that last. A sick man, unable to work, can still possess more dignity than the entire executive floor of a rotten company. The world hates that truth. It means a person can fail economically and still succeed morally. It means the soul does not belong to the payroll system. So work hard, build skill, earn well, take pride in craftsmanship, provide for your people, rise if rising is offered, lead if leadership is yours to carry. Yet never hand your name over to the company store. Never speak as though your badge is your being. Never let a title become the coffin in which your larger life is buried alive. Because one day the title will change. One day the role will end. One day the ladder will crack. One day the desk will belong to someone else. When that day comes, the people who endure will be the ones who built their identity from stronger timber than employment. They will say, I still have duties. I still have people to love. I still have truth to keep. I still have a soul to govern. I still have hands to use. I still have beauty to make. I still have burdens worth carrying. I still know my name, and that name was never printed on the business card. Watch the next video, because this crisis is bigger than work. It is about whether modern people can recover a thicker view of the human person before technology and instability strip the old illusions bare. This has been Gene with Guildrim. Always remember, a grand world awaits.